So yeah, Marvel's not holding back with this one. I knew Avengers Doomsday was going to be their most ambitious project since the end of the Infinity Saga, but damn, with the stuff they've announced, I thought they'd at least save some of it for Secret Wars, but nah, they're going all in. Despite some concerns myself and others have initially when looking at all of this in its entirety, I really do hope it all works out. Holding out hope for Doomsday and Secret Wars won't be some giant cameo fest with bad pacing and no real story to tell. Obviously this isn't the first rodeo in pulling something like this off, but the build up to Doomsday compared to the planted seeds throughout the Infinity Saga leading up to Infinity War is pretty laughable. I mean, there's been no mention or build up to Doctor Doom at all. The villain they've been building up to until now is probably going to get killed off in the beginning of the movie to show off Doom's full capabilities. As we're all aware by now, Avengers 5 was initially titled The Kang Dynasty, featuring the main Earth Avengers battling the Council of Kangs. What I'm about to cover briefly isn't confirmed and is mostly on the rumor side of things, but it doesn't sound too far-fetched on what Marvel might have planned initially for their Avengers films. Supposedly, the original plan was to have separate Avengers teams fight the Kang variants seen in the mid-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and the variant who was the main villain of that movie would have returned to take revenge against his variants, eventually becoming He Who Remains. So he probably would have become the Beyonder equivalent leading up to Secret Wars. Given the concept art leaks that dropped, Doctor Doom's rise to power might be more reminiscent of the 2015 Secret Wars event written by Jonathan Hickman rather than the original 1984 version, although the Russo brothers have said they're taking loose inspiration from both while crafting their own version that fits within the MCU. It's pretty insane to think about the chokehold superhero media has had in the cultural zeitgeist, so much so you have people sharing leaks and behind the scenes content, like the aforementioned concept art for Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. It's only a matter of time before Kevin Feige has some other kind of information leaked. But you can prevent the breach of your personal data by using this video's sponsor, Aura. No, not that kind of Aura. Bank of America announced a data breach that occurred, but what's crazy is that they decided to not tell anybody for months, which isn't even the first data breach they've announced this year. Usually it takes a company around 277 days to report a breach, so your personal data could have been outed a while ago and you're just now hearing about it. Citigroup and JP Morgan Chase also had breaches. Why not prevent some internet bozo from having access to your data by using today's sponsor, Aura? Aura notifies me if my phone or social security number and email address are on the dark web. They're pretty quick to let me know if any credit or bank accounts are trying to be accessed, essentially giving me up to $5 million in identity theft insurance if the worst case scenario were to occur. Aura provides numerous features in a single app to keep your information under lock and key. You can visit my link aura.com/menterprises to try 14 days for free. That's enough time for Aura to see if any of your personal data has been uncovered. That's certainly a better time frame than what these big companies offer. At most, what they'll offer to help is free credit monitoring. Yeah, sure, offer to watch my credit after it's been breached. Go ahead and install cameras only after the local comic book shop was robbed. If you personally haven't been a victim of fraud, why wait around to see if it'll happen? Let Aura do all the heavy lifting for you if it seems like too much of a hassle to protect yourself online. If you don't want to leave yourself vulnerable, you can go to aura.com/menterprises to try 2 weeks for free. Thanks again to Aura for sponsoring today's video. The Avengers Doomsday cast is massive, like it's freaking huge. It honestly feels bigger than Infinity War or Endgame because the cast they've revealed in the 5-hour live stream does not include the full cast of the movie. Which makes sense because there were several characters not mentioned like Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Hulk, Captain Marvel, Wong, War Machine. We know Chris Evans and Haley Atwell are set to return, although Chris Evans' role is unknown. They really made people sit down and watch chairs for 5 hours and it worked. It's baffling.
I'm shocked.
I'm honestly surprised how anyone manages to keep track of all the heroes and villains they need to squeeze into this movie. According to the Russo brothers, the only way to keep track of all the characters they're working with is by using a set of baseball cards featuring Marvel actors and the number of films they're contracted for. I had a feeling the Fox X-Men cast would be utilized at some point before the MCU debuts their own recast X-Men movie. Considering the success of movies like Deadpool and Wolverine, No Way Home, and Multiverse of Madness bringing back actors from previous Marvel entries, it was only a matter of time. However, I didn't think the OG lineup of actors from the Fox era returning would be this soon, because I was under the assumption that Doomsday would be the Thunderbolts, Avengers, and Fantastic Four teaming up to take down Doctor Doom. Then things would escalate to grander multiverse shenanigans and Secret Wars, which would result in the appearances of characters like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, the OG X-Men, maybe a Ghost Rider of some kind, etc. Basically, my mentality was Doomsday centering on the main Earth Avengers with multiverse elements sprinkled in, and Secret Wars going all in like the 2015 comic event. But now we got pretty much most of the X-Men cast coming back in Doomsday. When learning about this announcement, I was under the assumption of, okay, so it seems like they might be doing an Avengers vs X-Men thing, not necessarily based on the actual comic, but rather loosely adapting the beginning of the Secret Wars event by Jonathan Hickman, where Earth 616 and the Ultimates universe are the last two Earths left in the multiverse and are colliding with one another thanks to an incursion, which would result in the heroes of both universes battling it out as their Earths merge. In order to prevent an incursion from destroying both entirely, one of the Earths had to be destroyed. So in this case, the Fox X-Men universe would collide with Earth 616 of the MCU. The X-Men in Avengers Doomsday are likely to come from the universe scene at the end of the Marvels, where Monica Rambeau is shown to be trapped in an Earth with Beast, played by Kelsey Grammer, who is also set to reprise his role in Doomsday. It's kind of funny how the Marvels of all movies in Phase 5 would turn out to have one of the most important post-credit scenes leading up to Avengers. I also find it funny how the majority of the X-Men are going to be middle-aged or older. Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart are 84 to 85 years old currently.
Till you're 90.
While they could still incorporate an Avengers vs X-Men like concept in the movie, since incursions are very much a thing in the MCU, it seems like the role of the X-Men is mainly relegated to helping the rest of the heroes stop Doctor Doom. According to Kevin Feige, Doomsday will focus on the Avengers, the Wakandans, the Fantastic Four, the Thunderbolts, and X-Men all teaming up to fight Doom. That's like 5 teams/factions in one movie against a common threat, 2 of which are from completely different universes in the multiverse. I guess the Eternals decided to sit this one out. When Feige said Avengers, does that also include the Young Avengers cast as well, or Champions, or whatever the hell they're going to be called? Either Doctor Doom is going to pull up crazy powerful, or he has his own evil team of Avengers, cause good lord, they are really about to try and jump this man. That being said, if anyone at Marvel Studios could pull off handling such a large cast of characters in an Avengers movie, it's the Russo brothers. They've directed some of my personal favorite MCU movies, and they have even brought back the co-writer for a lot of those entries, Stephen McFeely, to helm the script for Doomsday and Secret Wars. That's certainly an improvement over their original plan, which was to have the writer of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania write the Kang Dynasty. Can you believe back in 2022, they announced that they aimed to have the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars both released in 2025? Those VFX workers would have never seen their families, and the movies would have looked awful.
Not a great plan.
Shoot, the VFX workers are still probably quaking in their boots after seeing that livestream announcement. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being the most expensive set of Marvel movies. They're already spending nearly $200 million paying RDJ and the Russos to come back. Both movies will probably make their money back in no time. The hype seen thus far without even having witnessed a trailer is pretty insane. I don't think Doomsday will do endgame numbers in terms of box office, possibly not even making as much as Infinity War, but it's gonna make a butt ton of money nonetheless. I think Secret Wars has a higher chance of catching up to Endgame, but a thing you have to keep in mind is that there was more of the casual audience keeping up with Marvel during the Infinity Saga compared to now. Now I gotta talk about the big elephant in the room, the concept art that was leaked not too long ago. Concept art, especially this early on before movies even entered production, isn't always indicative of what will occur in the final product. Alongside the leaks for the Avengers concept art, there was also art released for the upcoming Fantastic Four movie, and there are some big differences in the designs, and we have no idea how early on these concepts were made. That being said, it does paint a general picture in where they're headed with the Secret Wars storyline. The Russos also clarified that the leaked concept art contains no spoilers for the upcoming Avengers movies because it's not from those movies. I'll give a slight spoiler warning regardless because honestly I think they're full of it, so if you want to know absolutely nothing, you can skip to this timestamp right here. As I and many others have predicted, it seems like they'll go the 2015 Secret Wars route, where Doctor Doom becomes powerful enough to salvage the remains of the destroyed multiverse to create his own battle world that he rules with an iron fist. You see some similarities with what we can assume are Doctor Strange, Sue Storm, and her son Franklin Richards, all by Doom's side. In the comic, Doom obtained his God Emperor-like abilities from stealing the power of the Beyonders, whereas in the MCU it could be from the Kang variants or maybe even Loki being used as a MacGuffin, since currently he's the god of stories and is holding all of the timeline branches in place to have them all coexist. As for Doctor Doom himself, this might be inevitable, but I'd really prefer if Victor Von Doom had no connections to Tony Stark. I don't want this to be some Iron Man variant who changed his name or something. I'd rather them just take the Chris Evans Human Torch route, a familiar actor playing an entirely different role in the multiverse, like Maria Rambeau's actor playing Binary at the end of the Marvels. As for the state of the MCU after Secret Wars, the only thing we know for certain is that the X-Men will be the new big focal point, leading the Mutant Saga, which would hopefully mean a brand new cast of actors playing mutants across the board, because bringing back some of the previous actors yet again after the biggest multiverse event film would just be doing too much at this point. It's crazy to think about how we had to wait over 8 years just to see Marvel portray their own fresh take on the X-Men by the time their movie comes out, instead of reusing the Fox era actors. Better late than never, I guess. There have been a bunch of casting rumors for the X-Men movie in development, some characters potentially being played by younger actors for longevity's sake. Most of the rumors I've seen don't have that much validity to them. One I've seen floating around is the possibility of Denzel Washington playing Magneto.
It's 90% bullshit.
This is almost 100% false for a couple of reasons. One, Denzel Washington is in talks to star in a major role in Black Panther 3, and two, erasing Magneto's Jewish heritage would be a massive disservice to the character. Him being a Holocaust survivor is a sole driving factor for his motivation and why he does what he does. Trying to alter that to accommodate a more modern setting is just moronic. Also, I don't think Denzel's the kind of guy to sign a 10+ year contract to play an iconic Marvel villain at this point in his life. I'd imagine the Fantastic Four as well would be focused on a lot more in this new era, given their significance to the Marvel Comics universe and their mistreatment over the years. And I'm really hoping Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom is only for these 2 upcoming Avengers movies. I have no interest in seeing him return as the character for years to come. If that's the direction they're heading in, you can keep it as far as I'm concerned. Like I said earlier, I am holding out hope for these movies being well executed. They got a couple of directors who know what they're doing. The multiverse definitely shouldn't be the center focus after 2027, because if you fumble this, well then the good faith in Marvel Studios might be tarnished for a good while, but I guess we'll see what happens.